All right, so take two of Mike Too Nice and the Entertainer talking about the Giants here. We tried to do it live for you guys, and I feel like the audio is working for some people not. No one was getting us on the screen, so we decided to just do this offline, I guess you can call it, and just record it. And hopefully next week everything is resolved on your channel. But Chris, I asked you before, but how are you?
I'm doing good, man. Yeah, I'm going to monitor YouTube for the first 10 or 15 minutes in. So if you see me looking up the screen, guys, that's what I'm doing. And if we could go live, we will. But if not, we'll do it edited this week. And we got a lot to talk about. And Mike, yeah, we'll basically just redo what we did over the first 10 minutes of the live stream before it conked out. But I'm doing well, man. Thank you for having me on the channel. Got a lot to talk about. Obviously, we'll recap our second win against Washington. And we got a do or die game this week in terms of, having a possibility of the playoffs. So, I think we got to win the next two to have any chance. So it starts this week against the Philadelphia Eagles. It's a big game, and thanks for having me on, buddy.
100%, yeah, anytime. So the Giants coming off that 23-20 victory, as I mentioned before, they were up 20-3, I believe, or 23-3, whatever the score was. And of course, Washington comes all the way back because the Giants cannot hold a lead for the life of them. And I was hoping it'd be a comfortable victory. Never the case here, but I will give them credit. They had two key turnovers on the interceptions by Peppers and then Logan Ryan to steal the game and ice it. So that's perfect. That's how you close out a game right there. And as you mentioned before, I think the turnover differential for the Giants has been like basically even this year, right? So far as compared to last year where it was terrible. So to see the Giants are somewhat taking care of the ball on offense, I know Daniel Jones can do a better job at that right now. And he did have no turnovers last week, which is great. Hopefully that keeps up. But the defense is creating a lot of turnovers. And I don't know how much of that has to do with coaching. I'm sure Alex Smith had something to do with that because he gave up a lot of easy interceptions, I would say, to the Giants defense. But overall, they played pretty well. We'll dive into the offense first, I guess we can go with. So quarterback-wise, Jones, no turnovers. Offensive line looked really good, specifically the tackles. A PFF said they gave up no pressures. Matt Peart, and even Andrew Thomas. I know Peart didn't play the whole game, but still he was good when he was in there. And, of course, Alfred Morris comes out of nowhere, puts up a good performance. And then Austin Mack had a nice catch in there, 70 yards total. And, of course, we'll talk about the Will Hernandez, Shane Lemieux whole type of decision to come up. But what was your reaction to the offense on Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, like you said with the turnover thing, I think that's a major positive so far this year, and it's what I was hoping for. Last year we were minus 17. This year we're even, and a lot of that has to do with the defense, like you said, the improved defense. But a lot of it, at least in this game, a lot of it had to do with the fact that Daniel Jones was a game manager, and Daniel Jones didn't force the ball. He didn't play hero ball. He had two close calls. One of them, it almost was like he fumbled on his own. I don't know what happened with that, but he was able to jump on it, recover his own fumble. But overall, Jones did what I want him to do, and that's be a game manager. And a lot of people and I tweeted out on Twitter, like you said, during the live stream, a lot of people say, well, you don't draft a quarterback to be a game manager at 6th overall. To which I say, first off, you could win football games with a game manager. To me, the biggest responsibility for a quarterback is not to lose the game. And then obviously you want a guy that could win the game when it's necessary, but you got to get to the point where he's not losing games first. And Daniel Jones has certainly been losing some football games this year, and he did not do that in this football game. And when you look at the team surrounding Daniel Jones, we say it every week. We don't have the best weapons with Saquon Barkley out. We have an emerging offensive line that's getting better, but it's still not there yet. So I think this year specifically going in, and it may be long-term for Jones, but definitely this year, I thought he was best suited to be a game manager, and that's what we saw against Washington. He didn't make mistakes. He didn't force balls into tight windows. There was 3 or 4 times in which you could tell he made a concerted effort to check the ball down to the open receiver. He hit Deion Lewis on one play, I remember, I think on a 2nd and 10, where he checked it down to him. I thought he did a really good job in that aspect. Did he have any splash plays? No, but he did what he needed to do to win this football game. So I thought Jones overall had a strong performance. And if he does that the last 7 games, I'll be encouraged. Limit the turnovers, Daniel. You've done better with the fumbling. He's only lost 2 fumbles through 9 starts. He had 11 fumbles lost last year through 12. But you got to get much better with the interceptions.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I came away pretty happy with what he did. Now, as you said, he didn't go above and beyond to win the Giants the game, which I don't expect. I expect the guy to be a game manager. And as you said, a quarterback has to go out there and try to just not lose a game for you. And sometimes we've seen Jones do that this year, unfortunately. But if he can grow and not do that in the future, that would be great. And we see teams have game manager quarterbacks that win games. People bring up Ryan Tannehill all the time. They have a good team around him, but they win a lot of games. Alex Smith for KC, they won 10, 11 games every year, basically even 12, I think, one year. So if you build the right team around these type of quarterbacks, it's going to work. Would I take one at 6th overall? Maybe not, but it's over and done with. I get it. So I'd rather have a quarterback that can carry an offense and make some really big splash plays, but that's not who Daniel Jones is, and you kind of have to live with it. But I think if he can limit these turnovers and just cut down what he was doing with the bad interceptions, the bad throws, we saw it in Tampa. Hopefully that was like rock bottom for him, and hopefully for now it keeps trending in the right direction. So if he can do that and be consistent week to week with it, I don't expect the guy to have no turnovers the rest of his career. I'm not saying that, but at least, maybe have like 10 to 12 interceptions per year. I mean, right now he's on his pace for a lot, probably close to like 18 or 20. But if he can do 10 to 12 a year, maybe a few fumbles lost per year, it'd be a lot better. I think the Giants would have a lot more wins right now. They'd probably be a 4 or 5 win team if the quarterback Daniel Jones was better at protecting the ball. But if he can learn from that, I think the Giants can make a nice little push here in the second half. We talked about the game coming up Sunday, very big. Cannot afford to turn the ball over too much in that one. And if they can go out and win this game, it would leave me very excited for the future of the Giants this year.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely there. I see things that they're much better than they were a year ago or 2 years ago, whatever it may be. And they're starting to get better at things that I talked about going into the season that I needed to see them get better at. One is running the football. They've run for over 100 yards in each of the last 4 contests. The last time that they've run for over 100 yards in 5 straight contests, you got to go all the way back to 2015. And they've been 27th or worse in time of possession over the last, I think it's 6 years, going all the way back to like 2014. They're currently ranked 24th, which is better. And if you take away the first 3 contests where I think we were like minus 23 minutes, we're significantly better. I would say we're above league average since week 3. So you're starting to really see this team form an identity. They're starting to become a more balanced offense. They're starting to be able to run the football, and that starts up at the point of attack. A lot of it has to do with the improvements in the offensive line. And even with Barkley going down, you've seen the New York Giants be able to establish some kind of ground game, which is very encouraging, because if we can continue to do that, we're going to be able to stay in some of these games and we're going to be able to win some of them.
Yeah, and I might be crazy for this, but I'm kind of starting to like Jason Garrett. I'm not sold that he's going to be here for the next few years even, but from the last 3-4 games or so, I've liked what I've seen from him. Pretty creative offense. I mean, we've seen Giants offenses that have been pretty boring and pretty predictable over the years with McAdoo and Shermer, but this offense has had some pretty interesting plays. I remember the first big play for the Giants on Sunday. It was like they sent Engram in motion behind Jones. They fake a pass to him, hand off to Shepard, who was basically in the slot, and it threw off just about 3 or 4, maybe 5 Washington defenders. And I love seeing that. And there was a couple other big plays in there. Of course, the Austin Mack catch where he got 50 yards, I believe. It was a blown coverage, but still a deep ball for Daniel Jones that was very well placed. So I'm pretty, I'm not sold that we're a top 10 offense, even top 15, but we're getting there. It's trending in the right direction. And I know their record isn't that great this year. We get it, 2-7. It's not an outstanding record by any means, but it's the fact that the Giants are close in these games. We talked about their margin of losses in these games. They're actually competing against good teams here, and they're mostly winning the games they're supposed to win. I think the one they were supposed to win that they didn't win was probably that Week 3 one against the Niners when most of their team was out. But I mean, they're supposed to beat Washington. The Giants were underdogs this week. They did win that game. I don't know if you're supposed to win this Eagles game. Probably not, but it's going to be a close game in my opinion. We'll talk about it later. But what the Giants are doing is, and look, the Giants we know are not better than a lot of teams, but they're at least winning the games they're supposed to. And the ones that they're even double-digit underdogs in, they're staying very close, losing by 1 point, 2 points, 3 points. They're keeping it very close. And I really believe that if this team gets the talent, they're going to be good in the future. I don't know how good, but I feel like our head coach is the right guy. I feel like our defensive coordinator is the right guy. Jason Garrett, I'm iffy on, but I feel like he's been improving each week. So maybe we have the right guys at the coaching staff. I've been thrilled so far.
I'm not that iffy on Jason Garrett. I know a lot of Giants fans were, and I always thought it was going to take 5 weeks, 6 weeks for this offense to start to show signs of life because of the offensive line. Garrett runs the type of offense that wants to take shots, and you can't take shots unless you can hold blocks. So until such time I started to see this offensive line get into a groove, it was kind of hard for me to evaluate Jason Garrett. I saw a lot of people, whether it's YouTubers or whether it's just fans of the Giants on Twitter or on YouTube through comments, we're saying Garrett sucks. We got to get rid of Garrett. He's the main problem. I think Garrett could be a good offensive coordinator. He's been a good offensive coordinator, throughout his career. Dallas Cowboys routinely ranked in the top 5, 6, 7 offenses during the 6 years in which he was calling plays. I think he'd be a good offensive coordinator. I think you're starting to see that with this New York Giants football team. And, we still don't have the weapons. We still don't have an unbelievable offensive line. So like you said, the offense as a whole isn't going to look unbelievable. But I think you're starting to see creativity. You're starting to see them, get a little bit more flexible with the play calling. And what I really like is the balanced approach. I like a balanced offense. I'm not a guy that wants to throw 70% of the time. I want to see a 55-45 disparity pass to run. And I think that's what Garrett's starting to do over these last 3 or 4 contests. It makes you less predictable. And I think the New York Giants offenses look better because of it. You brought up Austin Mack. I was thrilled to see that kid have a big game because I was not a fan of I was happy that they did what they did to Golden Tate. So I was happy to see Austin Mack step in there, had a good, strong game. He had more yards with that one reception than Golden Tate has had in any single game this entire year. So I was happy to see Austin Mack have a day, and hopefully he continues to be a part of the rotation.
Yeah, you bring up Golden Tate. I kind of forgot about him, honestly, and probably for a good reason. But I really hope the Giants as a coaching staff don't just go right back to him. I know they're kind of like easing him out of the lineup in a way and giving other guys more opportunities, but I really want to see Austin Mack play more. He was a guy that I liked when we got him. I thought he was a great route runner. He can make big plays, solid hands. I'm like, you know what? The guy's a lot younger. He actually has a future here. We're 2-7. I know there's some hope for the playoffs, but let's actually play Austin Mack and see what we have here. There's no point in playing a Golden Tate, who we know there's a 99.9% chance he's not here next year. So let's play the young guy, and hopefully the Giants look at that the same way. Now we'll talk about the offensive line a little bit. So I thought both rookie left tackle and right tackle, Matt Parrott, Andrew Thomas, looks pretty good in this one. I would say really good. I think, it's a tough matchup. Montez Sweat, Chase Young, Deron Payne, all these really good players, Kerrigan as well, really good front seven, as we know. I think they held up pretty nicely. I think Lemieux maybe had a couple instances where he was beat in a pass blocking situation, but I think Nick Gates has been getting better every week. We see that, which is great. I love seeing that. And even Kevin Zeitler, the solid veteran, had a really nice game in this one. So the offensive line, I know we're talking about Jason Garrett's offense getting better week by week, but the offensive line is getting a lot better, which probably translates to Jason Garrett being able to call more stuff, because as you said before, when you don't have the time, you can't really develop these deep routes and things like that. But now that the offensive line is giving them time, they can actually call a full playbook and not limit themselves like they were doing the first month of the season. But the offensive line so far has been looking a lot better recently.
Yeah, and I really think it started in that Rams game. Over the second half of that Rams game, you started to see them get better in the run blocking department. And I think it's kind of been a steady, development. It's gotten better and better each and every week. And it's now the second time that we really kept a very good front seven in check in Washington. I thought Andrew Thomas had one of his better games of the year. He continues to improve. It's funny to me, Mike, because if you go back like 3 weeks ago, there were Giants fans on Twitter, on my channel, on your channel, I'm sure. Andrew Thomas is a bust. Dave Gettleman doesn't know how to draft. Andrew Thomas is trash. They should have taken Mekhi Becton. They should have taken Jedrick Wills. All of a sudden, Andrew Thomas has a higher PFF grade than Jedrick Wills. All of a sudden, Mekhi Becton can't stay on the football field. And all of a sudden, it looks like Andrew Thomas is the best left tackle in this year's class. So, that's why I always say, let things develop, and then we'll come to a final conclusion. I know that New York Giants fans are passionate, but I'm encouraged with the way that Andrew Thomas has played here over these last 3 games or so, as he started to respond and get better after looking a little bit lost there, at some, in the midpoint of the early on in the season. But I think Andrew Thomas is going to be fine. I know that he struggled early on. I think he's going to be fine. I thought he had a hell of a ball game. Like you said with Lemieux, and I didn't watch the film, but just watching the game, I thought it was pretty obvious in passing situations. Lemieux struggled a bit. And you expect that. He's a 5th-round pick. You're kind of throwing him into the fire before you probably want to. I think Hernandez personally should start. A lot of people say you don't want to disrupt the chemistry because it seems like Andrew Thomas has played better with Lemieux in there. I'm going to put Hernandez back in there if I'm the head coach. I'm curious to get your take on that. And then maybe play the musical chairs, kind of like Judge has been doing at the tackle spot. He's gotten Parrott in there a little bit. He's getting his reps for Parrott as well. Maybe you do the same thing with Lemieux, but I'd put Hernandez back in the lineup.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. I want to talk about Andrew Thomas real quick. I mean, the thing I've noticed, which is different about him, I mean, not even technique wise, but when we see Andrew Thomas get beat now, he doesn't. I don't want to say he gives up on the play like he was doing like before. I'm not saying he was giving up on plays, but now he's kind of finding ways to kind of re-anchor himself and get in front of his guy once again. There were times in the film review that I saw where he was beat by Chase Young specifically on a couple plays where he was beat and kind of like took a bad step or was off balance, but somehow found a way to get back in front of his guy, which is what you want as an offensive lineman. You're not going to be dominant every single snap, but if you can find a way to square your shoulders and get in front of a guy, that's all you can ask for, really. So that's the big improvement I've seen with Andrew Thomas. I don't know if that's a mindset, a technique thing, whatever the hell it is. Keep doing it, Andrew Thomas. And as you said, that's why you can't call a guy a bust 6 or 7 starts into his career. I mean, maybe there's some instances where guys are so bad, maybe you can see it right away. But Andrew Thomas, to me, was way too talented at Georgia to be like, yeah, this guy's not good. He's not made for the NFL. And as you talked about, Mekhi Becton can't stay healthy now. Jedrick Wills, lower PFF grade. I know Jedrick Wills kind of benefits from the scheme he's in. They kind of disguise and then kind of hide the left tackle, a lot of play actions to Baker Mayfield to right, so it makes him look better than he is. But I think Andrew Thomas has been looking a lot better recently, especially the last 2 weeks. And, I think if you can keep doing that, the whole bust talk will be done. And hopefully the Giants found their future left tackle. Now, for the guard situation, this is a pretty big one. And honestly, I said this, and I think maybe the post-game reaction I had to last week's game, I said to myself, usually I'm a pretty strong opinionated Giants fan, as you know, but I usually lean one side on these things. I really have no idea what they're going to do in this situation. You said you would go back to Hernandez, and I can definitely see that. But with how well the offensive line's been playing the past 2 weeks, I'm saying to myself, can you really mess that up? And I know Lemieux hasn't been perfect. There's definitely been situations and plays where he's been beat, especially in pass protection once again. He's been pretty good in run blocking, but pass protection's a little iffy for him so far. Yeah. But I'm saying to myself, do you really want to change that up based on how well they've been playing lately? And I kind of agree with you now because you kind of made me see the light a bit. I'm like, you know what? Hernandez is in year 4 now, three. Yeah. And he basically has a contract for next year as well. 1 more year left on his deal. You kind of want to see what you have here. I think Lemieux, if everything goes the way I think it's going to go, which is when Kevin Zeitler will probably be cut and you save $12 million, hopefully you put Shane Lemieux at right guard next year and go from there. But as you said, there's going to be more of like rotating guys in. It's kind of like an offensive line by committee, as I've been saying. But it's true. Usually you see that with running backs, and we'll talk about that later, by the way. But, they're having these offensive linemen rotate in and out. And if they can get Shane Lemieux in there for, maybe 10 to 15 snaps per game, that's fine with me. But I do like Will Hernandez still. I'm not totally out on him. He's been disappointing at times, but before he got COVID, he was actually trending in the right direction and was actually one of the better run blocking guards in football this year. So if they can keep him in there, I think you might as well try and do it. I wouldn't be disappointed if they took him out the lineup because I get it for how well they're playing. But I think you're right, though. Give Hernandez the shot once he's healthy again.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. And maybe the Giants won't elect to do that. And that's what I would personally do. But, when Judge first started doing the musical chairs, when he was with the first game, I was like, what the hell happened? And obviously Thomas was punished. We found out after the fact. But even after Thomas came back in after the first quarter, they were still doing it. And they've done it since. They've gotten paired in there. It's very unconventional. And we know that Joe Judge is very unconventional, and he doesn't care what people have to say. And that's what I love about the guy. It's what attracts me to Gettleman. Even though I may not agree with everything that Gettleman does, I like that he doesn't care what people think, and he's going to do what he thinks is best. And I feel like Judge is the same exact way. He knows he's going to be criticized for doing things that are thought to be elementary with the tennis balls and with the diving for fumbles in the mud. He doesn't care. He's going to do it his way. And I respect that a lot about him. And a lot of Giants fans were critical of him when he first started doing that, but it seems to be working. And if he's going to do the same thing with the guard, I'm all about it. I mean, give these guys an opportunity, see what you got going forward, and I expect that to be the case. I don't know what the snap count's going to be, but even if Hernandez is inserted back in the lineup, I do expect Lemieux to get some opportunities.
Yep. And even as you mentioned before, some people called Andrew Thomas a bust. There were people saying Joe Judge should be fired. And that's, asinine in my opinion. But Joe Judge, as I said before, I feel like we have the right head coach, which is definitely big. I feel like the Giants need more talent, obviously. And as I think a new GM would be nice, but we'll get into that at some point later in the season. But, I think they're just having talented players away from being a good team because they really do have the coaches, in my opinion. I don't know if they have the quarterback. I still want to see these final 7 games to really have a concrete opinion opinion. I said a couple weeks ago, I'm done with Daniel Jones, but that's in the standpoint where, like, I don't think the guy has a top 10 quarterback like ceiling. I think you can win with Daniel Jones. It's possible, but you have to have a good team around him. Can they build that? We'll have to find out. But I want to ask your opinion about the running back situation, because Devontae Freeman might come back this week from the ankle injury, and now they might have a situation where 4 running backs are in the rotation here. So Alfred Morris has looked great, looks really good, last Sunday specifically. Then you have Wayne Gallman, of course, who has not been too bad. I think Wayne Gallman's been pretty impressive so far. He's been good, right? Yeah. Then you have Devontae Freeman, if I mentioned him, and then Dion Lewis. So 4 guys. I think Lewis is a pretty easy one. He has his role. He's a third down and long type of back. He'll be in there for pass protection. He'll be on there in passing downs. But the other 3 guys, do you make it a 2-man rotation? Do you make it a 1-back type thing? And I think when Freeman was there, it was more of a 1-back type thing. We saw more of Freeman and Lewis. We didn't really see Wayne Gallman too much. Is it more of a 1-back, 2-back? Do they put 3 in and keep Morris? I don't know what they're going to do, honestly. So what do you think the Giants are going to do in that situation?
It's a really good question. And it's going to be interesting to see how they do it, because I think they're going to add another wide receiver. They've been going with 4 a lot. I think they're definitely going with 5 with Pettis now on the roster.
Yeah.
You got to keep Mack up there. Obviously, Tate's probably going to be rostered, and Shepard and Slayton. So that's one less spot, on the offense. So I don't know if they'll go with that many running backs, but I definitely don't think it's going to be a 1 running back approach like you said with Freeman, which was maybe like 3 or 4 weeks ago, where Freeman was getting, I would say 80% of the carries. I don't think that'll be the case now. I think Gallman's played really well. He's run tough. The stats may not indicate it, but he's run really hard. And Alfred Morris looked like Brandon Jacobs on a couple of those runs last week. And part of me was saying to myself, maybe it's because he's going up against his former team. He had a little bit of extra motivation. But Morris looked good. And I'm completely for the committee approach. It's what I thought they should have done as soon as Barkley went down. I thought that was by far the best way to go about doing things. And I think that's what they'll continue to do. I would guess it'll probably be, like you said, I think Lewis is strictly a pass-catching back. I don't think they're going to use him much in the running game. I think it'll be a near even distribution between probably Gallman and Devontae Freeman. Right. I don't think Morris is going to get that many carries, even though he looked really good this week. But it's a good problem to have, Mike. I mean, if everybody's running well, I guess you go with the hot hand. It's a good problem to have right now.
Yeah, and another interesting note is that, Joe Judge comes from that Bill Belichick tree where they always seem to use this running back by committee. They have their pass catcher, James White. James White is Dion Lewis in this offense. Is he as good as James White? Probably not, but they have Rex Burkhead. Who's Rex Burkhead in this offense? Probably,
Freeman,
I don't know.
Maybe.
I would say maybe Freeman or Gallman, one of them. Then you have like Harris and you have Sony Michel. Like they use 4 guys basically, and he comes from that coaching tree. So maybe you find a way to use all 4 guys. I think there's a role for each of them on this team. Now, it wouldn't shock me if they went away from Morris. As you said, he might get a couple carries a game now, and they might just stick with mostly Freeman and Gallman handling most of the carries. But at the same time, you said Morris kind of looked like Brandon Jacobs. He was running some people over at some point. So I would not shy away from him. I kind of hope they give him at least, a couple more weeks, a couple more games, I should say, to really, see if he's it or not. And if he's not, then you say, okay, he played well for a couple games. Now he's nothing. But I hope they use all 4 guys somehow. There's not like enough plays in the game to do that sometimes, but hopefully they find a way to implement all of them. And of course you can use some type of, schemes where you have 2 running backs in at the same time and things like that. So we'll see. They'll get creative, but I think, Joe Judge and Jason Garrett will find a way to do that. I actually wanted to touch on this real quick. You brought up his name and I completely forgot, but Dante Pettis I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
I'm very satisfied the Giants took a shot on him because I think people talked about him, coming into this year kind of like not in shape and he's injury prone, which I get. I pull it, believe me, I get it. But he's a very talented kid. Like I think he's a guy that can create some yards after the catch, which is big for this offense. He's a red zone threat. When he was at Washington, I think it was Washington, he scored like 15 touchdowns in 1 year. So he can be a red zone threat, a 50-50 ball type guy. I know he's not 6'4", 6'5", like the type of receiver the Giants fans want, but a type of guy that can win jump ball opportunities, and he is talented. So I think the Niners didn't give him much of a chance. The guy had 1 target in 2020 so far, so really didn't have much of a chance. Then he fumbled the kickoff or a punt, whatever it was, and they cut him. I think the Giants got a talented player here. Will it work out? I mean, I don't know. We'll have to see. I think it depends on the opportunity. If he plays a lot, I think there's a chance he'll be a diamond in the rough type of guy. And usually I don't say that. I'm pretty excited about Dante Pettis' talent, though.
Listen, man, I'm going to give credit to the Giants, whether you want to credit Judge or Gettleman, whoever. This year in season, I think the Giants have been very proactive. I think that they've been aggressive in bringing players off of waivers to try to help out this football team. and a lot of them have worked. A lot of them are running backs that we just talked about, Alfred Morris, Devontae Freeman, and I like the Pettis move as well. I think that there's nothing to lose there, and I think at a bare minimum, he's probably going to be returning kicks for us. Of course, we cut Corey Ballantyne. He wasn't returning kicks last week. I think Deion Lewis was, but he was returning kicks for us, and I would guess that Pettis, who I think had 9 touchdowns in college returning kicks, will have that role for the New York Giants. That's what I expect. Will he have a role as a pass catcher? I'd be leaning no right now, at least to start, unless we have a couple of injuries. But like you said, there's nothing to lose. You're not paying this guy anything. He's a former early second-round pick for a reason. He's still young. Why not? I mean, you got nothing to lose. If he's still out of shape, if he's not working hard, you get rid of him. I mean, at the end of the day, you're not risking anything, and he's a guy with a pretty high upside. I thought it was a really good pickup by the New York Giants, and I'm excited to see if he can make a difference in the kick return game. I kind of compare it to Corey Coleman. When we first brought Coleman in 2018, it was a similar situation. It was he was a first-round pick, but it was a guy that, this former team, the Browns, had given up on. We brought him in, and he contributed massively in the kick return game. He flipped the field position a lot. Hopefully, Pettis could have a similar effect for this the second half of this Giants team.
Yeah, and as you said, if he's not working hard or seems out of shape, we have the type of head coach that's not going to put up with that. So I'm really not too concerned about it. I'm not going to throw him out there if he's not trying hard in practice and things like that. But as I also said for Austin Mack, hopefully with Golden Tate, they put him as the 5th or 6th receiver and they play Pettis over him as well. That's what I want to see personally, because I'm over Golden Tate. I like Tate as a player. I liked him a lot with Seahawks, a lot with the Lions, but man, I'm over him. Him and his attitude, and he's not even putting up that great of numbers. I'm done personally. But we talked a lot about the offense. We'll hop into the defense now, who had a 5-turnover game, well, 4. You can put 1 on the special teams, but they played really well in this one. They had, of course, as I said before during our 8-minute live stream, they had some mess ups in there. They gave Cam Sims a couple of big plays with some missed tackles, and then they had the Terry McLaurin play where Isaac Yada missed an easy tackle. That was rough to watch. But honestly, I mean, the Giants defense, turnover-wise, did a pretty good job. They kind of held Gibson in check in the run game. But, I mean, outside of giving up a couple of big plays and missing tackles, the defense looked good. And I want to highlight some specific players later, but you can talk about the defense real quick.
Yeah, I mean, the defense continues to impress each and every week, specifically in the first half. They were awesome. They definitely let up some big plays. To me, right now, if you ask me, if we're going defense in the first round of this year's draft, people keep asking me, I'm taking a cornerback. I mean, our second cornerback is brutal. Isaac Yadam is horrible, and in this defense, I think you need strong corner play. I think that's our biggest need on defense, actually. A lot of people may argue pass rusher. I think that's a major problem for this team because we're letting up big plays because of it, and it doesn't allow us to blitz as much as we'd like. In this game, we blitzed a ton. Whether it was the safety, whether it was the corner, specifically more so even in the first half than in the second half. But I thought we were really aggressive on defense in this game, and I think that's why we created as many turnovers as we did. I think they saw an opportunity, with a lackluster, mediocre quarterback to try to create some turnovers. I expect them to try to do that against Philly this week as well, the way that Carson Wentz has played. But, yeah, I mean, I love Patrick Graham, man. He's innovative. It's a different – every week it's a different look. Like the Giants come out with a completely different philosophy each and every week depending on their opponent. The week before, they were kind of playing a bend but don't break to start the game. They were out in zone coverage a lot. It's predicated on the team that they're playing, and in this game, they were aggressive from the start. And the defense continues to impress, man. It was really a complete team effort. I mean, on all 3 levels, you had good performances. Dexter Lawrence, I didn't really say his name much, but Dalvin Tomlinson had a nice batted ball. Leonard Williams continues to get sacks. Blake Martinez has been solid, each and every week. Bradbury, not his best game, but overall, Peppers, like we said, was phenomenal. The defense played lights out. The defense had a really good game in this contest and was probably the primary reason why we won.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned about, Carson Wentz. I mean, he's the type of guy that's going to make some bad decisions, and we know that. The Giants have to take advantage of that. But I still think Wentz is talented. He's a gamer. He's not going to give up. But he'll give you some opportunities to make plays, and the Giants, once again, can improve on that turnover differential if he makes some bad decisions on Sunday. But, you highlighted some guys we talked about. I think Leonard Williams got the sack once again. He's been playing like a madman this year. I did not expect him to be this good, but honestly, man, the trade's looking better. I would still say
let me say something about the trade. Let me say something about the trade. And I am with you on the trade. And most people, when they made that trade, I tried to be optimistic about it when they made it and say, oh, maybe we get a comp pick, whatever. Let's look at the trade now from a different microscope. If we never made the trade in season and the Jets held on to Leonard Williams, I would guess it would have been more than likely the Jets would have tagged and traded him. So if we really wanted Leonard Williams, we probably were going to have to trade for him anyway in the offseason, like what every team does with their pass rushers. And I think the Jets would have traded him. So at the end of the day, maybe we wouldn't have given up as much. I don't know. But we probably would have to trade for him anyway if we wanted to bring him in. Maybe that's the way they're looking at it. But regardless, the way that Leonard Williams has played since he's gotten here has definitely made us feel a lot better about the trade. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, definitely. When they made that trade that day when I made the reaction, I was pretty optimistic about it. But then, realizing that when the Giants didn't sign him to a long-term extension in the offseason, which was the big thing for me, I'm like, if they can extend them for a pretty team-friendly contract, and this is probably going to be a good move, but the franchise tag didn't really sit right with me. But he's been playing, up to that level so far. I mean, it's $16 million, I think it is, but he's been playing really well. If they can work out that extension this offseason and actually make it work, worth their while, I would say it's probably going to end up being a pretty decent trade. I still don't believe in giving up a third-round pick for a guy that's a free agent, but at the same time, it's been working out pretty well so far, I would say, based on Leonard Williams' performance. I also want to talk about Jabrill Peppers. I don't know if we touched on him in this topic, in this video, but the other one we did. But yeah. Peppers, the last 2 weeks against Tampa Bay and then, of course, against Washington, has been playing like one of the best safeties in the league. I said if he played like this every week, he'd probably be a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. He had 2 turnovers in this game, a fumble recovery, the interception. He's all over the place making tackles. He missed a couple tackles. I'm not going to lie. He had I think a blown assignment on Cam Sims on one play as well. But, not going to be perfect. I get it. But he's been everywhere making a lot of plays. And I think with Jabrill Peppers, he always gives 100%. But really the question is with him, can he stay healthy? He's had some, nick-ups here and there. He was hurt last year at one point. But if this guy can stay healthy, I think can be a really good safety for this team. We have him under control next year. The Giants picked up that 5th-year option for him as a former first-round pick from the Browns. So the Giants have him next year on a pretty favorable deal. But if he plays like this for a full season next year, he'll get himself a pretty nice contract, it seems like.
He's playing really well. And I'm super excited to get to see when McKinney gets back in the lineup, which I think is going to happen after the bye, to get to see how they utilize both those guys in the defense at the same time, because I think they're both very versatile. Peppers was very active. He had 2 great plays back-to-back on that second-to-last drive where he got the interception. He was a guy I was really excited about coming into the year. He was one of the guys that I thought would really benefit from this defensive scheme. I thought Leonard Williams, because of his versatility to play both on the inside and the out in kind of a 4-3 alignment. And I thought Lorenzo Carter, of course, went down with the injury. But, I think Peppers, who started off really poorly, to me, the first 2 or 3, what did he play, 2 weeks before he got hurt, whatever it was, I was most disappointed with him, more so than anybody else on this defense to start the year. But like you said, these last 2 or 3 weeks, you've really started to see him grow into being one of the better safeties in football over that time. He's been great. He's been a playmaker. And hopefully it continues this week against, the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, and I didn't touch on the other part of the secondary, but Logan Ryan, I mean, once again, a couple missed tackles in there, but to have the game-sealing interception after that rough week he had with his wife and things like that, it was awesome to see that from him. And I thought he played pretty well for the most part. And then I think for a guy like Bradbury, they didn't really target him too much. I think he might have screwed up on one play, but he honestly was not too bad in this game. They kind of tried to avoid him. And if you're Washington, why would you throw at him? You have, James Bradbury playing at an all-pro level, and then you have, Isaac Yadam on the other side. What the hell are you doing throwing at James Bradbury? It was not going to happen. You know what I mean? So I just want to talk about this as well, the cornerback 2 problem for the Giants. I mean, what do you do at this point? Because Ballantyne was waived. I mean, I'm sure we all know that. Got picked up by the Jets today. Hopefully he doesn't turn into anything with that team. But the Giants do have a cornerback 2 problem. Ryan Lewis was on IR. I think he might be eligible to return after the bye or maybe even this week. I forget what it is. But the Giants seem to have a problem there. And do they pick up a free agent? Do they just ride it out here with Yadam? And do they try it with Ryan Lewis once again? Because I have no idea what they do with this situation here.
I don't either. It'll be interesting when McKinney comes back, because then that gives you other options. Maybe you could, move Darnay Holmes out there, or maybe you could move Logan Ryan out there, or, because it gives you another guy that maybe could play their role in the defense currently. So it'll give them a few more options. But like I said earlier in the conversation, we got to play out these next 7 games, but in the offseason, New York Giants have to make that, in my opinion, to me, that might be their number 1 problem right now in this entire team. They need to get stability at that cornerback position, whether it's in free agency or whether it's the draft. I don't think the answer's on this team right now. I think it's going to be a Band-Aid. They're going to have to pick and choose to try to make it through the year. But right now, I think that's going to be a major liability going forward.
Yeah, I agree. And I think honestly, if they win on Sunday and get themselves, in this playoff race for real, I think during the bye week they might actually try and sign a cornerback, a veteran cornerback off the street, and see if they can come in. And maybe they sign two. I have no idea, but at least make some type of difference because Joe Judge should not be putting up with this, bad play from their cornerbacks week after week after week. I know Yadam played well. I think it was in the Tampa game, maybe
The
two
week
games
before,
ago.
he actually played
Yeah,
really
right.
well. Yeah.
Yeah, he played really well in that game. So okay, maybe it's an off game, but like even the beginning of the season, he was not good either, and we kind of know who he is at this point. So if they keep seeing bad performances, I know it's only one game till the bye, but I really think they might go out and try and sign someone else. I don't know off the top of my head who's out there, but I know coming into the year, there was a good amount of cornerback free agent veterans that were out there. We'll see, but I feel like if the Giants actually win this game and get themselves in that NFC East race, you can't go into a playoff stretch run, trying to, basically go out there with Ryan Lewis and Isaac Yadam every week and just expect to win games on defense. It's probably not going to happen. So I think it's a possibility. You mentioned McKinney as well. No point in playing him this week. I think after the bye, though, very realistic possibility. And look, maybe when McKinney does come back, you have your two safeties now and Peppers and McKinney. I know they like to rotate guys, of course, but maybe Logan Ryan does go to the outside more and kind of solidifies that other side of the field. You have Bradbury, of course, on one side playing well. Maybe Logan Ryan plays more outside corner and definitely helps that side for the Giants. I think Darnay Holmes, you mentioned him on the outside. I've always viewed him as a slot guy. If they want to try him outside, that's fine. He played most of that at UCLA, but honestly, I see him in the NFL as a slot guy. But yeah, I mean, I think there's a possibility they try and sign somebody, but I think that's all I got for the defense. Dalvin Tomlinson showed up a few times, as you said. And, Dexter Lawrence didn't show up too much. Even Kyler Fackrell has been quiet lately, honestly. So those are some guys that probably have to pick it up a little bit. But overall, it wasn't too bad, honestly. And I think Tay Crowder might come back this week. I think he was activated. And as you said, Blake Martinez was great once again, making turnovers and things like that. So, yeah, I like what I saw. A few blip ups once again. They'll fix that and then in their film review and things like that. But if they get everything right, I'm pretty excited for the future of this defense.
I'm pretty excited for the future of this team, man, because as you're talking, I'm saying to myself, what if DeAndre Baker wasn't a dumbass? Mm-hmm. What if McKinney never got hurt, and what if Barkley never got hurt? We're probably like a 5-win team, and that's with Jones playing the way he is. So it's like it is so encouraging how much better – the record doesn't indicate it. I get that. But it is so encouraging how much better this team is than they were a year ago. And a lot of it has to do with some of the guys they brought in. I mean, obviously, the two major free agent acquisitions that they brought in on defense are definitely helping. But the biggest contributor is the new coaching staff. And I think it is really optimistic going forward for this New York Giants team. I really do.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, coming into the year, I didn't know what to expect. I said 6-10, but this is a really good-looking 2-7 team, if that makes sense. And I think, people are saying that cover the Giants. This is like the most optimistic 2-7 team you'll ever see. Like these guys are actually excited. I think they like Joe Judge a lot. They like their coaching staff a lot. So, as I said before, they just need talented players. If they had talented players, if Barkley was healthy and McKinney and guys like that, they'd probably be in a much better spot right now. And you know what? I mean, looking at the whole NFC East, as a whole, the Giants might have the brightest future. I mean, this might be like an old takes exposed type thing, but honestly, looking at it, right? I mean, it's like they have their coach. They have a young roster with some talent. They don't have any superstars yet aside from Barkley, but you look at them and you're like, you know what? If they add another couple of free agents and draft well the next couple of years, you're looking at a team that might be a serious playoff contender and maybe even more. So it's pretty exciting. They're not there yet. And now that I'm thinking about it, we didn't talk about Evan Engram, by the way. How'd you feel about Evan Engram? Because he was, once again, it's just peaks and valleys with that guy. He had that play where he was this close to causing an interception. He had the bad drop on a first down. That would have been another first down. It was like a 12-yard catch right in his chest, by the way. Dropped that ball, but also had the touchdown catch. He, I think, had another nice play in there. I mean, what do you do with Evan Engram? You just ride it out the last 7 games, I guess, and you kind of just hope this guy finally gets it together. But you can tell he's talented as hell. They want to get him more involved in the offense, but if he just got the drops under control and the bad plays, I think he would be actually a pretty useful tight end in this league. He's
Jekyll and Hyde. And he's been that way since he entered the league. Even his rookie year when he had, I think he had 750 yards. I think he led the team in receiving yards that year, if I'm not mistaken, the year that Beckham got hurt. Even that year, you had a ton of drops. And that's always been his MO since he's came into the league. And I hope he changes, but my guess would be he's probably not gonna. I mean, I think he's got a drop problem. You saw it in this game, like you said. I want to give him some credit. He made a great touchdown catch. And he is the most discouraging player on this football team because you see it. He's one of the few players on this team when you watch him play, you're like, he's got superstar potential, but he just can't reach it because of his drops. I mean, and he's not a great blocker, but in terms of being a weapon in the passing game, the guy drops too many balls. I think he dropped 3 balls in the game. One of them, like you said, he got lucky. It wasn't ruled an interception. The other one would have put the Giants well within field goal range on a pass, I think it was in the third quarter. We won the game. But, again, he continues to have problems holding on to the football. And you could go, but it seems like every game. I mean, you had to play, I think it was like week 3 or 4 where they pitched it to him on the run and went right off his hands. It was a fumble. You have the game last time we played the Eagles. He had a couple of huge drops, one of which resulted in an interception. The other one, if he caught it, would have closed out the game. It's discouraging because he's our best weapon in this offense right now with Barkley out, and he's not consistent. But like you said, I think we got to ride it out. I mean, I don't think we're going to trade him because you don't sell guys when they're at their low point. And right now, he's at his low point. I mean, you got to hope that he gets more consistent if you plan on moving him.
Yeah, I saw too many, people at the trade deadline were like, oh, just release Engram or trade him for a 7th rounder. I'm like, the guy, he's too talented. You cannot do that to a guy like him. I mean, will he ever be a superstar? I have no idea, but the potential's there. We know that. I also want to touch on Joe Judge specifically. One more thing, you can tell this team is so much better coached than it was the past few years. It's like not even funny. Like the Giants are actually doing things. Like you look at their kickoffs even, they're basically telling their kicker, don't kick it in the end zone, make these guys run it out and don't give them the ball on the 25-yard line. I love that. And then you also have instances of there was a play on the Washington's 40-yard line. Maybe
I think with the punt.
Yeah, they had guys running off and on the field, and they should have got 12 men on the field, but for some reason the ref was over the ball holding it, which kind of screwed us. But that, it would have worked. And I think there might have been another play on a 3rd and 5 where the Washington went off sides and they gave us the first down. I don't know if that's a Joe Judge thing. It might be just the hard count or whatever for Daniel Jones, but you can tell this coaching staff is getting every ounce that they can from this team, and I love it. I'm very optimistic for the future of this coaching staff, as you can tell.
Yeah, I mean, I said the same thing. I tweeted about it as soon as I saw it, even though it didn't result in anything. It just shows you that Joe Judge is constantly thinking. Pat Shurmur would never have done that. And just Joe Judge for have the wherewithal to think about that in that situation. Oh, yeah, we're going to send the offense out, and then when there's 20 on the play clock, we're going to quickly shift it and try. That's something Belichick would do. Matter of fact, you go back to the Super Bowl, I can't remember if it was Super Bowl 40. I think it was 42, the first one. Belichick caught the Giants with too many men on the field in a similar situation, if I remember correctly. And Joe Judge tried to do the same thing in that football game. You could tell he's always got something cooking up there, and it almost worked. It didn't result in anything, but you're right. He's always thinking. He's always calling timeouts in certain situations. I love Joe Judge. I freaking love Joe Judge. I don't know if you guys could tell. I love him. I absolutely love him.
I'm not a player, but he's the type of guy I just want to run through a wall for. You know what I mean? He's been great, and you can tell he's a good man as well, a great man. For what he did for Logan Ryan, and even that LSU rookie when he was I forget what happened with his situation, but I think the Giants and Joe Judge said they would pay him full for his absence in practice in the preseason or even training camp, whatever it was. So you can tell he's a great man. He's always thinking. His attention to detail is phenomenal. So I'm very excited about him. But we'll get into the Eagles game real quick. We'll do a little preview. This is probably a shorter video without the questions. I feel like we pretty much touched on everything right from the game. If there's anything else missing.
We've been going for a little bit though. It's been a good podcast. You guys better like this, by the way. You better hit that thumbs up. You better subscribe.
I hope so. So we'll talk about the Eagles game.
And now YouTube's working, by the way.
Oh,
of course it is.
Of course, yeah. Why wouldn't it work? Yeah. Next week, though, hopefully we'll get this thing right on your channel. Once again, join us at the Entertainah's channel. But, the Eagles right now, standings-wise, let me look at it real quick. I had it up before. So the Eagles are 3-4-1. We're 2-7. So hypothetically, if we win this game, we are 3-7-0. The Eagles would be 3-5-1. So I think they would still be a game and a half up on us, but I think their division record might be a game better as well. So we still wouldn't be in a great spot, but the Giants have to win this game, as we said, to have any hope whatsoever at winning the NFCs. And you know what? You would not, root for an injury, but Carson Wentz is not the healthiest guy. The Eagles are a team that gets hurt all the time, and they have been getting healthier now, which is definitely good for them. And as I said in previous videos, I still expect them to win this division, but what if? Why not us? That type of stuff. So the Giants, I think right now are 3.5-point dogs, and it seems like recently when they played Philly, every game is close, and I feel like this might be another instance of it. And if they learn from their mistakes, I think this might be a game they can actually win.
Yeah, 3 out of the last 4 times we've played the Eagles, it's been decided by 10 points. And one of those
Right.
games was decided by 6, and it went into overtime. So in regulation, I think we've been outscored by 4 points in 3 out of our last 4 contests. So we know there's going to be a close game unless the New York Giants completely shoot themselves in the foot like they did. I think it was 2 years ago on Thursday Night Football where Eli threw a pick 6. I think it was right out of the gate, whatever it was. But this is going to be a close game. This should be a close game. The Giants are going to have an opportunity to win. And at the end of the day, we're going to get to find out if they're starting to grow and learning out, how to close out football games. In terms of their playoff opportunity, they got to win their next 2. They got to win this game, and they got to win Cincinnati. If they lose either one, I'm going to say 0% chance to make the playoffs. They have to win both because when you look at their schedule after that, it's brutal. You got Arizona, you got the Browns, you got the Ravens, and you got the Seahawks before you play the Cowboys the last game of the year. So they've got to win both of these next 2 games. They got to get the 4 wins. But if you look at the Eagles' schedule, and I'm not too really too concerned with the divisional record because I don't think we're going to tie simply because Philadelphia has a tie.
Yeah.
I'm not going to project a tie for the Giants. But if you look at the Eagles' remaining schedule, let's just say they lose this game. At Cleveland, could definitely lose. Cleveland's probably a 3-point favorite in Cleveland, I would guess. Seattle home, easily could lose that game. At Green Bay, the Saints, who are starting to play really well, they just beat the hell out of the Bucs. In all those 4 games, they're not going to be favored. And then at Arizona, they're not going to be favored in that game. So their next 5 games after this, 1-4. I think that's fair to estimate that it's fair to say that. So if the Giants were able to win the next 2, you'd be at 4 wins. And I think the Eagles, if they lose to the Giants, are probably looking at 4 wins with 2 games to play based on that schedule. You're probably looking at 4-9-1, and then they've got at Dallas and Washington, 2 games in which they probably should win. So you're probably looking at 5 or 6 wins for Philadelphia if the Giants are able to beat them this week. And if the Giants could beat them and they could beat Cincinnati, you're at 4 wins. You still got the Cowboys on your schedule, and then you got to find a way to pick off one of those 4 games. But if you could do that, as crazy as it sounds with how bad Dallas is right now and how bad Washington is right now, you have a legitimate chance to make the playoffs. If the Giants were to win the next 2, I would say the Giants have a close to a 50% chance to make the playoffs.
Yeah, now you're getting me excited because I didn't know their schedule was this hard. I feel like people would enjoy this. You want to go through the rest of the schedule real quick and just tell me win or loss, like what you expect the rest of the year?
Yeah. Let's do. You want to do the Eagles or you want to do the Giants?
No, let's just do the Giants because you pretty much went over the Eagles. We know it's tough at this point. But all right, so versus Philadelphia, do you have them winning this week? You want to say no? I don't blame you. We don't beat them. I get it.
I'm going to say this, Mike. If I wasn't a Giants fan and I didn't know the history of this matchup, just based off the way the Giants have been playing, I'd pick the Giants. I really believe that. At home, I'm going to pick the Giants. And I picked the Giants last time, and I was wrong. I was close. I got the total points right. I said 23-20 Giants. It was 22-21 Eagles. And the Giants had an 11-point lead with 4 minutes to go. I think it's going to be a very similar game. I don't know if we're going to have an 11-point lead, but I think it's going to be a game that comes within 3 or 4 points either way. I think it's going to be a really close football game. And if the Giants don't do what they did last game, if they convert and Evan Engram holds on to the football, Daniel Jones doesn't have costly turnovers, I think we'll win this game. I do. I think we're better coached. And that's not a knock on Doug Peterson. He's a Super Bowl winning coach, but you talk to any Eagles fan, they hate the way that guy coaches. I think the Giants are better prepared. I think we could beat this football team. I really do. I'm going to give us a win this week. I'm going to say we win by a field goal.
They can, yeah. And I think – I don't know what I want to say for this one. I think the spread's 3.5. I think the Giants cover this, and it's either going to be a devastating Giants loss or they actually win the game. And I think it comes down to Daniel Jones and how much he protects the ball. If it's another 0-turnover game, if you told me right now it's a 0-turnover game, I think the Giants win. So for this video, I'll say the Giants win. So we'll go with that. Then they're at Cincinnati after the bye. I think this is a tough one. I don't know, honestly. That's kind of a toss-up to me, honestly, but – I guess we'll give them the win there, right? Like it's not crazy.
I don't think that's crazy at all. I mean, well, let me look at real quick. Let me look at Cincinnati's schedule. No doubt about it. Burrow's been putting up numbers. I think he's got 11 touchdowns, 5 picks. They got weapons on that offense. But you look at Cincinnati. I'm looking at their schedule right now. They played the Chargers to open up the year. They lost to I think that was Tyrod Taylor probably week 1, 16-13. They lost at Cleveland 35-30. So they played them pretty tough there. They tied against the Eagles in Philly. They beat Jacksonville. That's one of their 2 wins, which is basically a bye. They got smacked against Baltimore by 24. They lost to the Colts by 4. They've played good teams pretty tough. They lost to Cleveland by 3, and that was the shocker last week. They beat
Titans,
Tennessee.
right?
Yeah, now they're coming off the bye. I think it's a coin flip game. It's in Cincinnati, so I give them a little bit of an edge there, but the Giants are coming off a bye, so I'll say it kind of negates it. I think it's a coin flip game. I do. And if the Giants were to beat Philadelphia, they have a little bit more momentum going in. I'm going to be an optimistic fan. I'm going to pick them to win that game too.
All right. So even if we're being realistic, we'll say 1-1 the next 2 weeks. Is that fair? Right. We'll just
all right. Let's say we got 3 wins.
Okay. So then they're at Seattle. I think we can say it's probably 1-2, right? Like we're not probably not going to win that game.
That's a loss.
Versus Arizona, I think they're pretty legit. I would probably have it at 1-3 after that.
I'm going to skip ahead. I'm going to say they win one of those 2 games, Cleveland or Arizona at home. I think they're going to win one of them. I think that'll be their signature game of the year. I think they win one of those 2 games.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely possible. I think it's more likely with Cleveland. They have their flaws, so I will say they could win one of those, which would have them now at 2-3 at this point. Then at Baltimore, who have struggled a bit. Their record's still really good, and maybe by that point they find their groove. But, like, Baltimore, I mean, they're better than us, let's be honest. Yeah. So I think that would be 2-4 after that. And then versus Dallas, that's probably a win, I would say. So 3-4 to finish the year. So is that good enough? Maybe, maybe not. We're kind of on like the cusp right there. But like, you know, if the Eagles lose a lot of these games as we said they could, and they have those easy last 2 weeks, but if the Eagles go, you know, 1-4 or even like 0-5 the next 5 weeks, then I say like it's definitely possible. So the Giants, as we know, have to win on Sunday, and this whole thing would be a moot point. But like at the same time, if they find a way to win this Sunday, it makes the final month and a half very interesting.
Yeah, I that would give us 5 wins for the year under that scenario. I don't think that would get us in, but 6 wins with a win against the Eagles, I think would, which is why I go back to the point that I think they need to win the next 2. We said they go 1-1 there. They have to go 2-0, and then they have to win either, in my opinion, because I don't think they're beating Seattle. I don't think they're beating Baltimore. They have to win one of those 2 games, whether it's Arizona, whether it's Cleveland, and then they got to beat Dallas. That would get them 6 wins. And then you'd probably be happy as a Giant fan because they more than like to make the playoffs, but you'd probably be upset because Gettleman is coming back. If, in my opinion, if that situation were to take place, let's talk about Gettleman real quick, because a couple of weeks ago, and I'm kind of like whatever at this point. I'm like, if they move, I wouldn't be upset either way. I'd be okay with them giving Gettleman another year. I thought they had a strong offseason, and I'd also be okay with them moving on because I know he's probably not going to be a part of the future. The guy's up there in age, and he's definitely made some questionable decisions. What do you think the New York Giants have to do for Gettleman to keep his job going into the 2021 season for the rest of the year?
At this point, because you know the record is not going to be that good if they make the playoffs. I think at this point, if they make the playoffs, that might be enough to keep him. If they miss, I think he's gone. It's as simple as that for me. I know it's kind of a dumb thing to say, but I think it actually holds some truth here. If they're in the playoffs, I think Gettleman has a solid chance to return. I would say 70, 75%. If they miss the playoffs, I think there's probably a 20% chance or less that he's back. So I'm going to go with that. But he has, you know, it's been looking better for him based on the free agent signings and his recent draft class playing better. So I will say that. Like before, I was like, there's probably a 95% chance he's fired. But, you know, competing really nicely with the Bucs and winning last week, things are looking better. But I still think it comes down to making the playoffs because they're not going to have a good record this year. We know that. But if they find a way to make it and be one of the final, you know, 14 teams, whatever it is in the NFL to play for the playoffs, then I think you have to look at that and say, okay, I know it was only 6 or 7 wins, probably 6. But at the same time, we made the playoffs and things are trending in the right direction here. Let's give the guy one more year. So I think it's definitely possible. But if they miss the playoffs, I'd probably say he's gone.
Yeah, I am going to say I don't know if he needs to make the playoffs to keep his job. But I do think – here's what I'm going to say about Gettleman. The couple of things why I was completely had given up and said he's not going to keep his job. One of the major things was his mission statement when he first got here, the offensive line. Well, the offensive line has started to all of a sudden look good these last 3 or 4 weeks. And if that offensive line can continue to do what they've done, and even if they were to win 5 games, but they continue to play tough. Say you lose to the Ravens by 4 points. Say you play Seattle really close, and you win 5 games, but you play really tough down the stretch. You look like a team that's building and getting better. The defense continues to have as strong a second half as they had in the first half. That's why I think he still has a legitimate chance to keep his job, because of how well the defense has played, because of how well the offensive line is starting to improve. But it's going to come down to Daniel Jones. It's going to come down to Daniel Jones these last 7 games. If Daniel Jones has a similar second half to the first half, Gettleman's gone.
Yeah.
If Daniel Jones has a good second half, he doesn't even need to have a great second half, but if he has a good second half and this O-line continues to improve, the defense continues to give you the first half production in the second half, I think Gettleman stays on, even if they only win 5 games. That's my opinion. But I think a lot of it's going to come down to Daniel Jones.
Yeah, no, it will be interesting. I feel like it would be a toss-up at that point, especially if Jones played well at the end of the year. If he played like crap and the Giants weren't winning and they weren't close in these games, pretty obvious that he's not going to come back. But we'll see how it plays out. It's pretty exciting. But before we get out of here, let's get a score prediction real quick. I was thinking in my head, I think I'm going to go with I was going to go with like 24-21 Giants. I'll go with that. 3-point win I'll take. But what do you think?
It's about what I got. Last time I said 23-20 Giants. You know what? I'm gonna have the Giants scoring a few more points here. I think they create some turnovers. I will go 26-21. Giants. Give me the Giants by 5. 26-21.
All right, nice. So we're on the same page, which is good. All right, so hopefully we come back next week and one of our predictions is right, or we'll just take a flat out win by 20 points. We will definitely sign up for that. But
yeah, that'd be nice.
I mean, yeah, for sure. Hopefully we come on here next week and talk about the possibility of making the playoffs, and it will be the bye week. So I'm sure we'll talk at some point next week, though, and it'll be interesting because if things really go south and they lose this game, it'll be all off-season talk. But if we win this game, it'll be like, oh, what if we actually win out, or not win out, but actually play well the final 6 games or so and find a way to make the playoffs. So it'll be very interesting, and a lot rides on one game, but I think the Giants will be up for the task. I don't see them coming out and getting blown out against Philadelphia. I cannot see that happening, honestly.
I think it's going to be a great football game. I think the Giants will come out prepared, and it really is funny you bring up, how it's going to shape the content on our channels for the next 6 weeks based on this game, but it's true. If they win this game, we're not even thinking about the draft. We're not even thinking about free agency. We're thinking about the remainder of the season because it is a legitimate possibility that the New York Giants have a great chance to go to the playoffs based on the way, what happens with Philadelphia during the bye week. If Philadelphia loses at Cleveland, then you really start to say, wow, if we could beat Cincinnati, we're starting to creep back into this when you look at the Eagles' schedule. So it's interesting because if they lose that game, then you got a prayer, that you're going to play any meaningful football games down the stretch. And not even thinking about playoffs, because right now I'm not thinking about playoffs, but I still think this is such an important game for the psyche of the New York Giants going into the 2021 season. To be able to say we could beat this team, we could close out a game against this team. We no longer have to get the monkey off our back. To be able to say that you could beat the Philadelphia Eagles, I think it would be such a building block going into next year. I think the fans would, and I also think for the fans, the fans would start to say, okay, we're starting to go somewhere now. Now we're beating the Eagles. We're not just sticking with them. We're beating them. So I think it's a really important game, not even thinking about the playoffs.
Yeah, it'll take more for some people to go, okay, yeah, great, you can beat Washington, but how about the Eagles? How about the Cowboys? If they can win this game, I feel like a lot of people will start to buy in at this point. I feel like more people are buying in, and how could you not based on the way they've been playing recently? But for the pessimistic fans out there, if they beat the Eagles, which they can never do, you might start believing in this team. You don't have to think they're the best team in football, but actually think they're going in the right direction. So, I mean, that's definitely something to look forward to. But I'll let you close it out for us, Chris, but I appreciate you being here. And as I always say, we'll talk to you guys next week.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. And you bring up the right direction with this team. And you know what, man? And it's baby steps, but in the NFL, when you start going down the right direction, it can happen real fast.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what I'm excited about going into 2021. If this team could really start to continue to build for the rest of this year, and even if you win 5 games, but you're playing these teams tough, and you're starting to see something. You're starting to see an identity on offense, a balanced approach, and Daniel Jones starts to protect the football. He's not turning the ball over all the time, and maybe he builds off of last week's performance. We started to see the offensive line start to gel week 3, week 4. Maybe it takes Jones a couple of extra weeks, and hopefully he smartens up and plays better down the last 7 games and gives us hope going into next year. But it can happen, man. It's the NFL. You look at the Miami Dolphins. It's a team I compared the Giants to after week 3 or week 4. The Dolphins started 0-7 Flores his rookie year. The Dolphins right now, I think, are 5-3. A lot of people are saying Flores can win Coach of the Year. They're not going to have good football teams. They have a very good chance to win that AFC East. The Giants could easily, especially in as poor of a division that they play in, could easily be in that same situation next year. So I think there's definitely room for hope and optimism going forward. And I certainly have it. I'm not going to be one of these pessimistic fans. I see the light with the New York Giants, and I think we're headed down the right path.
Yeah, it's a good comparison with Brian Flores, and hopefully we found our Brian Flores, or maybe even better with Joe Judge. And so far, it's looking, trending in the right direction. So we can only hope, as you said, that this works out. But I think the outlook right now is a lot more positive. But as always, guys, thank you for watching, and we will talk to you guys next week.
Have a good one.